It's freezing.
It's a bit cold. Actually, it's not that cold. It just feels very cold. This feels like Holland.
Freezing.
No, but this is Dutch weather. It's very grey sky and it's windy. But the temperature, I do beg your pardon. I've got terrible wind today. The temperature I think is 9 degrees, which is not so bad.
It was -2 this morning when I got up.
What? -2? What time did you get up?
About 5:30.
Oh, that is early. Yeah.
What time were you up this morning?
This is the only day I can have a lay-in, or a lie-in, as you say. It's I got up at 9. Oh.
9.
I know. I feel guilty by saying that.
If I were in bed at 9, I'd think that there was something seriously wrong with me.
Well, there is. I can tell you that without you being up at 9. But no, most days I want to clarify. Most days I'm up at 5 or 4:30. Yeah. Just to set that up straight.
Now, the thing that we were banging on about last week. Well, we're going on about Prince Andrew a lot, weren't we?
Oh yeah.
And me getting a thumb up my arse. But we completely missed out on Boris, didn't we?
Boris Johnson.
Because Boris has been through ringer last couple of weeks, hasn't he?
Well, the Dutch news this morning, the prediction is Wednesday that he'll be out. The Dutch are quite... the news site is always quite... they make these claims. Well, Corona will be finished by the summer. And the expectation for Boris was Wednesday, he's out.
Right.
I don't know where that based that on, but...
I will go in a bet with you, right? Here's the game, all right?
Here's the game.
Boris or Ranieri? Who will go first?
Who will score a goal?
No, who will go first?
Who? What's the other choice?
Ranieri.
Is that the Italian football player? Who...
No. Watford manager.
Oh, it actually was a football reference.
Because I think them two are on the precipice, to be honest.
On the spot, but I don't know. You're talking about chalk
apples
and
and oranges.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd
Because
say Boris.
I thought Ranieri had gone today, because they lost at home to Norwich.
I quickly had to do a bit of a quick thinking there. They did, yes. I saw that result. Yeah. I can't compare these. I say Boris because I don't like the man at all. I've never liked him except when he was on TV chat shows.
Have I got news for you?
Yeah, he'd been
because
on many times.
he hosted it after, because Angus Deaton had to leave, didn't he?
Mm.
Angus Deaton had to leave. Have I got news to you? Have I got news for you? Because he were nostril deep in hookers and coke, wasn't he?
Well, he said she didn't tell him, but it was undercover cop, wasn't it?
But did he not ball her?
I think he did. Yeah.
So how could she?
I don't know the ins and outs. I just remember on the day. I remember on the day when that news broke, and on Have I Got News for You, they had this huge. Paul Mudd was wearing this big T-shirt with the bust and stuff. And,
yeah. And
Ian was going on about how when the bust took place and everything, and he would put through the ringer. But yeah, that was a big day. Yeah. Now after Angus Deaton, there's a few guest appearances. I think they both had to do it as well. The team captains. I think Ian Hislop didn't do it. But then, Boris did it a couple of times, and he was on as a guest.
Yeah.
And it was very entertaining. I did enjoy his way. He was a funny, the cheeky upper class twit, and people think he's harmless. And then they elect him as member of parliament, and then he becomes, of course, foreign minister, and then prime minister. And, oh fuck! What have we done? We put this man in charge.
But the Americans went the same way with Trump, didn't they?
It was around the same period, yeah. They were sort of buddies for a while. Him, yeah. Well,
Right.
let's hope that the pendulum swings the other side.
So lay out what he did, because I think you can do it a lot more clearer than what I can do it. So what's he done? Why is he in shit?
Well, he's been having these parties during the lockdown period, which started last year. I think in May 20th was one of the parties. Because that was my birthday.
2020?
Yeah, and he wasn't celebrating my birthday at all, apparently. No, so he's been having these parties and these drinks, and every time there's just a great excuse when it comes up in Parliament. He says, well, there weren't any parties. And then when the video leaks or there's pictures, and he said, well, there were parties, but I wasn't at them.
Yeah.
And then it comes up to, well, there's pictures that you're actually there. And he said, well, okay, there were parties, and I was at them, but there weren't parties. There were work events. And then he's seen with a bottle of wine, and then the excuse was, well, there were parties and I was there, but I didn't know. No one told me that it was a party.
God.
It's just an elevation of excuses, which I think is hilarious. Were not very serious.
I
There's
think
people saying goodbye to their dying family.
Well, not being allowed to.
And not being allowed to. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
But I think if you do a drip with a lie, if you give the lie out slowly rather than just give it out in one go, I think you might just get away with it.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's like a flood where if you release an amount of water each time with this flood, you can kind of decrease the amount, like a lock. You can sort of get it out all the time, maximum capacity.
Yeah.
But repeat that. You're right. The drip theory, but it seems to be working because. He's survived it so far. He's slipped the net.
But David Davis was stood on the back bench, and he came out with the Oliver Cromwell quote, didn't he?
Yeah.
More or less saying,
"For God's sakes, man, go."
Yeah. And he's still there.
Yeah, well, that's only a couple of days ago. It doesn't go that fast. I mean,
So,
that report will be released next week, in the next few days.
Yeah.
Sue Gray's report. Now, she was handpicked by him. So I'm not sure what it's going to say, but it's a tough one to get out of.
So he's had the weekend. Well, he won't have had the weekend off, but he's had the weekend away from Parliament. Is it Prime Minister's questions again tomorrow?
I believe so. Yeah.
So they're not. Starmer's not going to let this go, is he?
No, but he's been hammering on all every day, and
he's just
he
not
gets
getting
away with it.
But he doesn't seem to be obviously, when he found out, you think, right, this is it. But he's chipping away, and he doesn't seem to be.
No, but that's modern politics for you. Since the last few years, when we see Trump coming up and scandal after scandal, which usually would be the end of someone.
Yeah.
He just rambles his way out of it. It's either a lie or it's fake news, or he says, "Yeah, I said it, so what?" And things just move on. There's the honourable thing of resigning just doesn't exist.
Do you think
anymore.
it's a Trump playbook then? Do you think they've seen it? They've seen somebody do it from the most powerful country on earth.
No, why not? If it works, it works. That's politics. It's a dirty business. But I'm noticing it in other countries. I'm noticing it in Spain, Italy, in Netherlands,
Brazil.
Brazil. I mean, scandal after scandal, and if you can minimise the damage and sort of deflect, you're going to survive it. But also here in Japan, where it was kind of an open shut case, if there was any scandal, the Prime Minister would resign. And that's been happening since the Second World War, and there's been quite a few Prime Ministers who were caught out with small things, little scanners of accepting a bribe here or causing a contract to go that way, and they're out. Once that's been found out, it's been leaked, they're out. But when Trump was president, we had Abe here.
Yeah.
He had all those scandals about land.
Well, his wife and that school, there was something there. The
school, the land prices, there were other things, bits and pieces, and he apologised, but he never resigned. And that was at the same time as Trump. So I think they are looking at each other and think, well, we can survive these scandals if we just sort of play a certain way. You're right, drip bits and pieces, and the public get used to it. Well, last week I had this week it's this. Just let it go. I'm bored with it. I can't do anything anyway. And this disenfranchised feeling appears. But I can't see him getting away with it. And as that particular Dutch newspaper said he'd be out on Wednesday, yeah, I'll go for that. I'll back that bet.
I don't think he'll be out.
You reckon it's going to survive?
I reckon it'll survive it. Because if you're in a job and everybody's telling you you're a load of shit, but the only way they can fire you is if you leave.
You're referring to yourself.
Yeah. I'm just going to. So what?
Yeah, but you're not. You can't compare yourself being prime minister of a country.
Yeah, but if he wants that job and he's not bothered about what people say about him, if you've got thick skin, nothing bothers you.
Yeah, but there is a different sense of responsibility. He will be remembered as the bloke who finally will go because you can't hang.
Yeah, but are you bothered about how you're remembered?
I think he is.
By strangers?
Oh, by your next following generations, by your country, by the history books in your country. No, remember where he comes from. I think those people, those Eton idiots, they do care about their legacies.
I wouldn't know.
Well, we wouldn't.
No. Well,
no, but that's what I'm saying. Those people have a different kind of perspective on what they leave behind and what happens next and what people say. I mean, he's a narcissist. He will defend his lies to the hills.
But he's surrounded himself with horrible people as well, isn't he?
Wow, what a collection of nastiness. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we were talking about that Priti Patel, weren't we? What don't you
One
like
of the
about
most-
what don't you like about her?
About almost everything that she says is just disgusting. It's not only racist, it's just nastiness. It's endless. But that modern politics allows for that to be said. We accept it, and you can say that these days. The way she was going on about the refugees coming to England, which became illegal immigrants. First of all, immigrants, and then became illegal immigrants. I don't know how you're an illegal immigrant if you cross the pond there. How are you selling an illegal immigrant? You haven't even been processed. But yeah, so her approach to that, and then blaming the French for that, and then trying to get the Navy to push these little boats back. It's just, but you're planting a seed in the people's minds who are vulnerable, and they'll start believing that, then they'll start coming up for it, and they'll defend it at the end. That's the ultimate point, of course.
Do you know what I think? Shall I bring it down a little bit?
Is it possible?
Somebody who is that hateful would be amazing in the bedroom. I think, I think she would be absolutely.
Well, I congratulate
amazing.
you on bringing just that notch down.
Well, don't you think?
I don't think I thought about it. It's the thought of her being in a bed with me would just.
If you
makes
were
me
going to
vomit.
take to the bedchambers with a vegan yoga instructor or a white supremacist, and I'm not saying the white supremacist. There's nothing good about racism, but I think that you've been at it if you've spent the night with a white supremacist.
You're sort of confusing nastiness with sexual
But
prowess.
I think there's a lot of hate to come out if you get yourself with somebody who hates people. I think that's a night to remember.
So Hitler must have been amazing in the sack.
Well, he didn't know. I don't think he would have been. He was just playing at it. I think he was just playing at it.
He didn't really hate
Not
me. He was a
really,
lovely
no.
man, really.
I were on Zushi Beach long before I moved down there. It would have been 2007. Recently single. Now, when I were a kid, maybe about 17, I got all these shit tattoos all over my body.
I've seen them.
And there's one on my left chest of a woman with her tits out, and she's got the Southern flag bikini on. You know the
Confederate flag.
Yeah, the Confederate flag. That's it. Yeah.
How on earth do you get that, and why?
Dukes of Hazzard were popular at the time, and there were that woman Daisy Duke, wasn't there?
Yeah. Well, what if it was Knight Rider?
So I went into the tattoos. It was a dirty tattoo studio in Dewsbury. There were two fat fellas who I think weren't registered, weren't certified. And I just went and I went, right, that. So he did it all, and it looked awful, and it looks worse now. Anyway, I was on beach. I'd got myself fit, and this woman just came up to me, and she said, "Yeah, I don't like the tanned ones either." That's what she said to me. She was
Tanned ones?
Japanese. She didn't like the
She said tanned?
tanned or dark ones.
Dark
Dark
ones.
ones.
Right.
She just put a finger on the cross on my chest,
Right.
and then she lifted up the bikini that she had on, and she showed me. It looked like
swastika
It looked
or-
like an Aryan Brotherhood thing. And she was Japanese.
Wow, that's
She was
pretty
Japanese,
rare.
but she was fucking hot as shit, right? So off we went. It were getting dark. Off we went to that bridge at the right hand side of the beach, and then there's the river, isn't there?
Yeah, I know. Well,
I had 15 minutes there of good lord, I've just been fucked, right?
lovely stuff.
So she thought I were a racist. She was definitely a racist, and we were just like two racists
coming together.
passing in the night. Yeah, and off we went. Right now, this may seem like a racist comment, but if we were racists, we'd be white supremacists, wouldn't we?
No, I don't think you have to be white supremacist to be
But
be racist.
Is she a yellow supremacist? What would you call? What would you
According
call
to that
her?
rule?
What
if
would
you
you
stick
call
to the
her?
rules?
And why is she bothering with me if she's a racist?
I think she's a supermarket racist. She doesn't like particular races.
Do you think she was just...
Well, it can't...
She was just attracted to my ideas? Or my so-called ideas?
I don't know. It's along the lines of South Africans in the 80s when they accepted Japanese. And they had a name for... They had a category for the Japanese. They were honorary whites.
Because they'd stood up with Germans?
No. Because of their economy and the way they were handling themselves in the 80s, they were quite economically sound.
They were balling in the 80s, weren't they?
Yeah, but so they were opening factories in South Africa and the whites allowed it. But just the category of honorary whites, it's so ridiculously racist and bizarre. But the Japanese were accepted as under that category. Not if you're Chinese, not if you're Vietnamese or anything.
So there's a level within Asia then, isn't there, the Asians?
Yeah, but so I'm assuming it's along that kind of line that she was against other races more than other races.
So do you think if I'd have been a Moldovan, there'd have been no chance?
Moldovan?
Or a Romanian?
Well...
Olive skin?
No, because she would have just seen that as white.
You think?
Romanians are pretty white, aren't they?
I thought they get a bit olive skin down that end of Europe, don't they?
A bit of Slavic.
Yeah.
Olive.
But
I mean, I'm assuming she's very superficial. We'll just see, that person's white. But that person isn't.
She saw the Confederate flag. I didn't know what that meant. I thought it were a free spirit thing because you've got who was that band that crashed in a plane crash? Freebird.
Oh yeah.
What were they called?
Leonard Skinner.
Yeah. They had that flag up. Primal Scream. They had that flag on their album, so I just saw it as a rebel sort of idea. I never thought it were racist until Trump got in. I didn't know it were racist.
Well, it certainly changes representation. I mean, there is an argument to be had how people thought that was their identity back in the whatever early days, but it's just changed as language changes, symbols change. You can't.
But when that girl came up to me we're in that. Do you remember when they had that live house on the beach? She came up to me there.
Good times.
And did that, and I was thinking, did they get Dukes of Hazzard here? That's what I first thought.
Blimey.
Yeah.
I think Carry On movies were quite big in the 80s. If you had a tattoo of
Sid James. But yeah.
Yeah, you would have had that shag.
But I didn't think. I mean, she was a stunning woman, and then she just sort of lifted this. It were a bikini, but it had frills on, so you couldn't really see much. And then she lifted it up, and then there's just this Aryan tattoo.
Yeah,
symbol.
I think we get the picture.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to add to this story?
Well,
you're boasting of having sex on the beach.
Well, I'm just saying to you. It was more. It was a more memorable night than I would expect if you was spending a night with a vegan.
Oh yeah, we go back with full circle.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hatred. I think.
But you base this on a single experience under a bridge.
Well, have you never had a girlfriend who was full of hate? not until you started dating them.
I tend to avoid that. Full of hate.
Because it can be hot in some people.
I don't think there's any correlation between I mean, no, you're categorizing it, and you're looking for things you trying to make a pattern in, hoping they're true. I don't think. I think
I might attract it more than you because you're a kind of a calm sort of fella, aren't you?
Well,
do you think?
No, not really. But no, I see what you mean. But I would like to say that the wild ones, and this is my theory, are not the ones full of hate. They're the ones who are something they're not. So the wildest experiences of my life have always been with kind of quite religious people, especially Christians.
Yeah.
The heavy-duty Christians were the dirtiest ones in the sack. That's the name of a band I once saw. But that's from my experience. And
the priests.
No, it's the women who went to church very, and they had back in that pads, they would have these cross on the walls,
yeah.
and these slogans of, Jesus, all these things on the walls, and then the dirtiest stuff in bed. It was ridiculous.
Well, I mean, they've got these. They've been going to Christian girls' schools their entire school life, and then they get to university, and it's the fucking bar is open. I expect.
Well, I think it's
and
that,
same with the fellas.
yes, yeah. But the stronger you are supposed to behave in your group or your category, the stricter it is. It has to come out. It's good. It's like a kettle. The pressure has to come off. Now, if you are in a family where, it's a very open-minded family, you talk about it, these people are much less oppressed, so that their sexuality is more boring than the ones who aren't. I remember this quote once that all in Holland in the 80s and 90s, when there were sort of raunchy programs on TV, not as we have now, because now it's just ridiculous with the island and all that nonsense. But back in the 80s, when there were sort of suggestive sexual erotic programs on TV, the highest viewing ratings were not in the big cities in Amsterdam or Rotterdam. They were always in these very pockets of very religious areas where they wear black for like 10 years if the husband dies, and that kind of context.
Still in the 80s and the 90s,
yeah. In the south, the Zeeland, which is from New Zealand, that's a famous area for these very religious pockets of people who refused vaccines. And I don't mean the corona vaccines, they refused the polio vaccines.
Yeah.
So they had outbreaks of polio in the 80s, because they said it's God's will.
Because
that kind of thing.
They weren't vaccinated.
No, they weren't vaccinated. And there's a great documentary, actually, which I will send you later, about children who grew up with polio because their parents refused them to be vaccinated. And the conversation between that and all the... It's a tough documentary. It's really intense. But yeah, so that kind of level of people. But they had the highest viewing ratings of these erotic TV shows.
Why are they stuck down south? Is it buttfuck nowhere down there?
I think that's where the religious seem to last the longest.
So the further north you go, it's like, oh God, what are they?
No, it's big cities. So that's the same in any area. I mean, the more countryside you go, the stronger the religious injection will be. Cities will be more progressive, they'll be more open to change, etc. I think, yeah. But yeah, no, so my biggest experiences were with some heavy duty Christians. No Islamic yet, because I think that's still off the cards. The level of punishment is a bit more severe in those families.
I would recommend Brown Girls Daily. There's a lot of
is it a web page?
There's a lot of Muslims on that Instagram page.
Brown Girls Daily.
Brown Girls Daily. It's one of my favourite.
Are you being sponsored? Is that why you're wearing that T-shirt?
No. So, your auntie that you were talking about, is she from down south?
No.
Because you were telling me before we started today that you've got one of these aunties that has gone off the reservation a bit, hasn't she? Yeah,
lovely lady. I mean, she really took care. She's not actually a real aunt, but she took care of me. Well, she took care of a lot of us when my mum went, and really helped out with the family and stuff. And just a great character.
Is she Dutch?
Yeah, and very just mild and sweet, and lovely.
Married, kids of her own?
No. Oh, married, but not no kids. No.
Is her husband?
No, but anyway, I don't want to go too much about.
All right, all right.
But so she sent me these mails the last few years about all these conspiracy theories and anti-vax, and Bill Gates is the one who orchestrated it, and Fauci should go to prison and he will pay for his. It's all in Dutch, right? Yeah. Fauci's gonna have to answer, and he will pay for all his bad deeds.
Has she copy and pasted it, or has she done that?
No, it's all in Dutch and kind of, I mean, she wrote that, and she said that she knew the truth now, and she sent me these links of these hard. I've never seen it. Being in Japan, we don't get these things from back home. I don't. Well, I can read a bit about the news, but
you wouldn't even seek them out if you lived there, would you?
No, there are demonstrations. Anti-vax demonstrations are more than here. Here in Japan, I haven't seen it, but I haven't spoken to anyone who's like that. So it was quite a surprise. It overtook me, and I mailed that to another Dutch mate, and he said, "Yeah, it's a bit more here," and he knew other people who were thinking along the similar lines. But these illusions, these grandiose illusions of, they're just endless. So I mailed back saying, I knew Bill Gates was involved. I've never liked him.
Oh, so have you been stoking fire with her?
No, I regret to saying that I was pushing. I was trying to think of the most wildest things that I could think of, and I said, "Yeah, you're right." But I've also been reading that the dwarfs because they want to take revenge on tall people. They've been pushing the agenda. They've been lying to us, and so I can't. I'm very nervous about when I see dwarves. Just to see how she reacts, because the more bizarre, the more people accept it, and I wonder how she replies. If she says, "Oh, really, dwarves? Yeah, bastards."
But it's like with the truth thing. If you drip it out, the slightly ridiculous things.
Well,
and then and then that becomes I'll accept that, and you give it more, and then the fucking stupid. If you've been fed that ridiculous lie before, you're going to start believing it.
Yeah.
I mean, there was that woman with the banner over her head, Barack Hussein Obama, and those letters add up to 19, COVID-19, and that she was blaming it on Obama.
Yeah.
There's the link.
That proves it.
Yeah.
I did hear a ping.
That was me.
What was it? Oh,
that was me.
Yeah, finding these patterns. I mean, finding patterns has saved humanity in many times.
But not that.
No. But that's how farming began, right? We make patterns with the seeds and we can grow them. But when people start saying that, that's when you think, all right, well, let's take a little step back. Relax a bit here.
When Trump were in the big chair and he was saying, COVID-19, how have they come up with COVID-19? So, and then it just cut to Joe Scarborough and he just went, Corona, virus, disease, 2019.
Yeah.
He didn't know.
Yeah. No, America's full of these people. There's a great bit where Bill O'Reilly, that idiot, remember him, Bill O'Reilly? And he said to a professor, I think it was Richard Dawkins, a man who studied his whole life, who's got degrees and who's a respected character, and Bill O'Reilly, who's nothing, just a big voice and just shouting to people. And he said, well, we don't know everything. We don't know the tides. We don't know why the tide goes in, why the tide goes out.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. Richard Dawkins is looking at him and then looking at the preacher. Is this man serious? He doesn't know why the tides are coming in and out.
Bill O'Reilly.
Oh, he's a great... I enjoyed watching because he was so off the chart that I quite enjoyed it. But then, of course, that really started... That became the norm.
Yeah.
That's how people... And Tucker Carlson, all these idiots came out of the woodwork.
And who's the other fella? There's another one, isn't there?
Hannity,
that's it. He's the worst. I think he's the worst.
Nasty.
He's the worst.
Fueling dumb people's fires.
But Bill O'Reilly, Fox have spent millions and millions getting him off sex charges, haven't they?
Well, he was finally sent away, but with a I think they gave him...
I mean, he's been fired, but he's not been sent down, has he? He's not doing any time.
No, they kept it all quiet, paid off the person, but they gave him a bonus of, I can't remember, but it was something like $10 million.
But I think...
Leave us alone.
I think he were racking up to the high 60s million that he's had to pay out. I mean, he were phoning up women who were in office at home going, I'd love... pissed up. This woman said, I'd love to see you loofering yourself, and then, just like a dirty old man on phone. And like for that phone call, I think he had to fork out about 5 or 6 million. Fucking call me.
Yeah, exactly. Give me a bell, Bill.
Yeah.
If you're listening, Bill.
Yeah, but as soon as he got taken off air at Fox, I think a few days later there's a photograph of him at Vatican. So he's obviously paid his way into the Vatican to get these priests to just get rid of all his sins, and he thinks he's golden.
Wash him away.
Yeah, he thinks he's completely golden.
Well, that's how the Vatican was built, huh? Yeah, you pay for your sins.
Same with Giuliani. They were asking him about the stuff he's done in his marriage, because he's been married 3 times, and he just said to the interviewer, "Oh, that's okay. We've got all that cleared up with my priest." Next question. This is as if that's let's move on.
Yeah, it's like asking a burglar in court, well, what about these other burglars? Well, that was a long time ago. Yeah. Don't bring up those other burglaries.
But that's the go-to, you just use your religion and then nobody questions you.
Yeah.
And it's the Republicans that seem to do it the best.
Speaking of drip nonsense, religion, I mean, talking about something that's just absurd. And let's slowly introduce it and then it becomes normal.
Yeah, but that's going away now.
Not quickly enough,
that is going. I think by the time that my kids are my age, they're going to be looking back at all that shit going, what?
Religion?
Yeah.
No, it's going to be stuck with us for quite a while.
In the forward-looking countries, it'll be non-existent, I think.
Well, I hope so. I mean, if you look at like Scandinavian places, which are hopefully the target for most of us, that's really disappearing. I think it's 90%, 95% of Swedish people consider themselves atheists.
If you're living in a country where the only thing you've got to live on is your dad's ball skin, right, and you've got nothing to eat, nowhere to live.
How do you live in your dad's ball skin?
Well, I'm just saying, there's nothing to eat, so that's the only way.
You eat your dad's ball skin?
If it kept me alive. I'd get him to pick it off for me. I wouldn't go and pick it myself.
Would you use some condiments on that, or would
well, I'm just saying, to
Get
get
the
by,
salt
if
of
that's
it.
what you had to do to get by.
a salty stone?
But that's all you've got to look forward to, isn't it? Dying. And the afterlife.
Welcome to Bradford again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose so.
That's why it gets old there.
Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, all these...
There has to be something better than this.
These
kind of
southern
feeling.
European countries was fucking hard living 200 years ago down there, and that's all they had to look forward to, and dropping dead.
Yeah. Oh, it's great for keeping people under control. If you want to keep a population poor but oppress them, his religion, it works well. Do well now, and you get a great next life.
I don't want to go. I want to do well now. I'm not bothered about that.
Oh, well, they know that. They know.
not-
The only life you'll ever have is here.
Yeah. But you've got do well now and give us half of that money.
Yeah.
And we'll fuck your kids. All right, yeah.
Well, I don't think that's a slogan.
But it's
Welcome to
hid-
the church.
It's hidden. It's a hidden slogan.
Not that well hidden, unfortunately.
But
Fortunately.
my town wasn't religious.
Well, I don't think you call it a town, Bradford, but the way you describe Bradford, it's sort of this massive a drinking orgy kind of selection of bodies who just seem to be sort of intertwingling with each other.
But after what you told me about Amsterdam, it's not a patch. Oh, cuckoo's nest.
The cuckoo's nest. Did you find it?
Oh yeah.
Last week.
I looked into it.
I hope you did too.
Now I was talking to a friend of mine because I've been trying to write this thing to teach the kids in high school, which I don't think anybody will take on.
The cuckoo's nest.
No. This is a rabbit hole I've been going down.
Oh, yeah.
So, advice on coming out, advice on drugs when you're overseas and drinking,
What?
and mental health and all that shit.
So well, you're opening a kettle of fish.
Yeah. So I've got a friend who's gay. So I were asking him. I said, how would you teach this at school? Because there's obviously loads of gay kids at school that were frightened to fucking death.
10%.
It's like Japan now is probably like the UK in the 50s, maybe 60s.
I don't know. I mean, it's such a different society. In terms of being behind, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think if you, especially some of these parents, if you said, Dad, I'm gay, it'd probably get him into one of these pray the gay away things, wouldn't it?
Pray the gay away, yeah.
So anyway, I was talking to my friend and he put me on all these websites, and I've been watching a lot of Tokyo Bottom, and it's these two bottoms, these two gay fellas. There's a Gaijin and a Japanese fella, and they just go around Tokyo in Shinjuku, Sanchome, Ichichome, Sanchome.
Oh, the gay
What's
area?
the gay area?
Nichome.
Ichome. Nichome. Interviewing gay foreigners and gay Japanese people. It's fascinating. It is fascinating, and I've just been constantly watching it, and I've learnt all sorts of stuff that I didn't know I needed to know.
Good.
I didn't even know about tops and bottoms. Didn't even know anything about that.
What?
Tops and bottoms.
What do you mean?
Well, if you're a top, you're the fella that's giving it. If you're a bottom, you're the one that's taking it.
Well, it's not only anal
But
sex. is what you
if two bottoms get together, it's usually not a penetration sort of relationship.
But is there? I mean, from my information, this
From my
this friend of mine,
from your friend, from the friend of yours.
a family member, he said that there's more anal sex in heterosexual relationships than there is in homosexual relationships. Now, I've never delved into that detail, but that's what he said.
Heterosexually or homosexually?
No, heterosexual.
You've never dived in.
Relationships. No, heterosexual relationships have
Rid
more
of-
sexual.
rid of it there.
Have more sexual anal situations than homosexual relationships. That's my understanding.
As your friend told you.
That's what my friend told me.
But
but top and bottom, I think that sounds old-fashioned to me.
it's just what I've been watching. It's just what I've been
Don't
watching.
shoot the messenger.
I'm having my brain turn. But I mean, gay, especially gay men, they just see somebody they like and it's on, isn't it? There's no.
Well, which century is that from?
There's no going to dinner. If you see someone in a club, like the Cuckoo's Nest, you see someone in the Cuckoo's Nest, you catch their eye, you give them the nod, the old head flick, you go to a room, bish back, you're done, one and done, and then you back out for the next one. That's how I see.
That's Bradford's vision of homosexuality.
Oh no, that don't happen in Bradford.
But no homosexuals in Bradford. Well, not anymore.
That's how I would see.
Them all.
Whereas us, straight men, it's a fucking grind, isn't it? To get. Why can't we just cut straight to the chase? Why can't we do that?
I thought you did.
Only with these supremacists. Only with the racists.
Only in Newcastle.
But to be a gay fella must be fantastic.
Oh, come on, Darren. That's such an old-fashioned way.
Being young and gay, don't have to be that good looking. But you could just go to a club and pick up somebody.
Well, again, if you live in a particular area, it might be easy for you. It doesn't mean that all of life is suddenly great and fantastic. If you live in particular areas, again, like you said in Japan, it's not a nice.
But two mates would just jump in sack and start banging each other, and then they'd go back to watching football. That must be fucking amazing.
Yeah, that must be fucking amazing. I don't think it's always like that.
You've got your hot friends who are female, and you just sat watching the football and having a drink, and you just look at each other, bang at half time. Yeah, half time.
So all gay friends just bang each other.
I'm not saying they do, but there's no. What's the word I'm looking for? There's
common sense.
But there's nothing to it, is there? It's just getting it out. You just get it out.
Well, your vision of homosexuality is just that is an orgy. That's just a 24-hour orgy.
Back to the second half.
From when you wake up to when you go to sleep, it's just non-stop sex outside.
There'll be none of this. Oh, let's go for a walk in the park. Because as a fella, you do shit that you don't want to do.
So now homosexuals don't walk in the park either.
But when you're a straight
sex?
man, you do things that you don't want to do to get what you want, don't you?
And homosexuals don't.
Not as much.
Oh, not as
much. From what I've been watching.
Now, I don't want to give you an element of truth here because it's just ridiculous what you're saying now. But the relationship between the men and women is obviously more complicated, I think, than between two men because they are of the same gender. Yeah. So there is an argument to be had. But the way you're describing that argument is ridiculous, I think. It doesn't. You're making gayness sound well. Anytime, any day, I can just go on the street and just pick up lads.
That's what we are when we were between the ages of 14 and 25. 13 and 25.
Well, maybe not men.
Well, we were just wanting to have a fuck, weren't we? We were just wanting to have sex.
Certainly.
But if I'd have been gay, well, not in the 80s and the 90s, but if I'd have been gay then, now, and 14, you'd have absolutely no problem.
Well, where are you now?
What?
Well, you have no problem where? Where is this fictional character of your living?
But if I was gay now and living in England,
right,
you would be able to.
Where in England? Where in England?
Well, you'd be able to go to Manchester.
So in a big city.
Yeah.
Well, what if you're in I don't know what a small city is in England.
Well, Wakefield.
Wakefield.
You'd be able to go to Manchester or Leeds.
Oh, so you can't do it in Wakefield?
Well, you could do, but I think.
You think
you'd probably get a better class of man in Leeds or Manchester. So a friend told me.
I usually go to.
Well, you think if the bigger cities have got the biggest cities have got the better, more attractive people, haven't they? Hot people don't stay in
Wakefield,
Scunthorpe, do they? Or Slough.
I don't think it's about the hot people. I think it's more about the acceptance of the people who live there. I think as you say, it'll be easy to find people because they're more out there. I think in Wakefield, I don't even where is Wakefield.
It's close to Leeds and Bradford.
Oh, it's pretty close.
But if you could have wandered around the streets when you were 18, you could have wandered around the streets in Amsterdam, full makeup, pink tutu, French kissing, fucking Senegalese merchant navyman, right? And nobody would have batted an eyelid. If I'd have done that,
Senegalese merchant navyman. What happened to the good old Nigerians?
if I'd have done that in Bradford, I'd have fucking been in a coma.
Ah, so it wasn't accepted then?
No, still it probably wouldn't be now.
Oh, okay. Well, there we go then. So if you're living in Bradford, and
But I would have got myself off to Manchester.
Yeah, but in Bradford it wouldn't be tolerated. Yeah.
I think that I'm not sure because I'm not living in Bradford and I'm not gay, but I think there might be a couple of these definitely.
There must be
couple
some
of
gay
bars
bars, yeah.
in.
Now, are there homophobic people? Yeah, I'm sure
Yeah.
there are not in Holland. I mean, there every couple of weeks there's a report in the newspaper that some couple was attacked for holding hands. You know that still happens even in the most liberal
It's
place.
fucking ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
No, but I think that would still happen in. Well, what's San Francisco is a famous place, or
Yeah,
is it
Ashbury.
Melbourne or something?
Yeah, Ashbury is in San Francisco.
Well, I mean, it'll happen very rarely, but I'm sure it still happens occasionally. It's not zero.
In Sydney, that's the second largest gay population in city in the world, and I lived there while the gay games were on. You've never seen so many people in arseless leather chaps in one place. Because I used to start work really early and I lived in the city, so I used to have to cycle to the suburbs. And I were leaving my flat at 5 o'clock in the morning to cycle. And these gay fellas were glow sticks on, arse cheeks out. There were a fella flashed me, got his dick out, he had a couple of cock rings in. Where you going? Work. Oh.
Oh,
It's
that's the big surprise of the answer.
Been up all night, sniffing poppers outside Green Park Hotel. Yeah, remember that. But yeah, that were
I have to do something on the Tuesdays.
it would have been a Tuesday. It wasn't. But it were the gay games. Jimmy Somerville opened the. Were there for the opening ceremony.
Alright.
Yeah. That's Bee Gees.
Yeah, I couldn't get as high as Jimmy could.
But yeah, they were all there. But the thing is, in the 80s, when Erasure and there was Erasure, Pet Shop Boys.
Pet Shop
There
Boys.
were another one, wasn't there?
Rick Astley.
Rick Astley's not gay.
Well, I just thought I'd mention it.
But that music went out, and people didn't know they were gay. People, they didn't know.
Pet Shop Boys.
Frankie Goes to Hollywood. They had
What?
normal people had no idea.
Where? What?
No, because we were the ones that were closeted against it. We did. Oh yeah. Frankie Goes to Hollywood. Relax, don't do it when you want to come. Come where? Come where? That's what people were saying.
But
Why?
is it just the behaviour of the clip? I mean,
No. People had no idea.
Wait, what about all the Carry On film? Is that the
The Carry On film is the end of the pier comedy. It's all like oh.
But so that would be gay then?
That would be suggestive.
Well, not gay.
No,
Kenneth Williams.
No. Kenneth Williams. That all the people who really knew Kenneth Williams thought Liberace got away with it. Liberace would
a colourful character.
Liberace would come.
He likes
there's
sparkly
clips of him on
costumes.
BBC in black and white. He'd be up north, and these women of a certain age would come and watch him, and had fucking no idea he was gay. Now,
I don't believe that. They liked his style, probably. Yeah, of
they
course
didn't
they
know
did.
he were gay.
Well,
You're talking
He was an entertainer.
women in the 60s, in the 1960s, were going to his concerts, and he would go up and meet them in his big fur coats. Oh, how are you doing? And they would. Such a nice man.
What a gentleman.
I'd love to introduce him to my daughter. They were saying shit
not
like
sure
that.
he'd feel the same
But
way.
if you watch that, one of the best films Michael Douglas has done, that Behind the Candelabra, when he's playing Liberace, Matt Damon
I saw
says, "Why don't they know he's gay?" And that was in America. Why did they not know he's gay?
Yeah.
But we didn't that sort of thing doesn't happen in our country. We're like living in Iran.
So what is a gay then in that sense at that time?
We're
What
just
is
a fella that were a bit effeminate who will find a woman eventually.
So there just doesn't exist then gayness.
It does,
Homosexuality.
but nobody wanted to believe it did.
That sounds. You're right. It sounds a bit like Iran, where it's accepted that some truck drivers just pull up to certain and just have each other, but it's not gay. It's just men being men.
Do you know in Iran, if you want to be with another man, one of you has got to get a sex change, and then you can be with that person. So they've got the gay relationships down to 0%, because it is, apart from America, it's the second largest country to have transgender sex changes. Iran. Because
Well,
it's
I'm going to call bullshit on that. Go.
It's illegal to be gay, so they have the operation. You said you can either do this, I don't know if they're still hanging them.
No, hang, yeah. Because some people were sent back.
We can hang you, or we can whip it off for you. And
Easy
that's what
choice.
they do.
No, there was a big to-do in Holland that somebody was sent back as a refugee. He claimed to be homosexual, and for some reason it didn't filter through. It wasn't allowed. He couldn't stay. He was going to be prosecuted.
Yeah.
So they sent him back, and he was hung like 3 days later from a crane, and that came out, and all the pictures came out, and that put a few people out of a job in the immigration service. But yeah, they hang people in Iran. But I remember when my dad was in Qatar, I remember hearing later we talked about that, and they said that there's some famous place where people go, and they just have each other. But that's just what you do. There's nothing. They would deny to the hills that they're gay. They just we would just fuck each other
Just to get it out.
Yeah, and that's it. And then we go home, back to the wife and kids, and that's the life you have to lead. It's not about hiding it. It's well, if you got it, if you're gay, that's what you do over there.
Yeah.
We're not homosexuals. Weird way to live.
It's amazing. We're very lucky to have been born where we were, aren't we?
Well, there are other places where I would not like to be gay or straight.
Did Botswana just legalise it? Because Botswana, you were in the big house.
Oh, there's a few places. I remember Stephen Fry's documentary goes across Africa, and there's places where it's just, what are you talking about?
That world's strongest gay, if you go on the gram, he is this strongman, world's strongest gay, and they were having the world's strongest man in Botswana, and they said, look, you can go, but you can't take your husband with you. And he were like, and he just fucking went and he gayed it up. It's a big fuck you to you, you know. And he just went. I don't think he won it, but they knew he were gay, but they wanted to have the competition. They knew they were going to make money on the competition, so they sort of went like the Brits used to do in the 70s. Is he gay? That's what.
What about that camp comedian?
Larry Grayson. He used to do a generation game. He had his glasses on a chain, didn't he?
I don't think I saw
Shut that door.
Shut that door. Yeah, I saw a documentary about him, and there's a string of camp comedians, and it's quite funny. You know, it's a funny act.
So there were Larry Grayson, Freddie. Who did David Walliams play? Frankie Howard.
Oh, Frankie Howard.
Frankie Howard. Nobody had an idea Frankie Howard were gay.
Well, I don't get that.
I did.
But what's the point of doing that act then? What does it suggest?
Because it's to the end of the pier stuff. And that's what I'm telling you. It's the end of the pier stuff. It's suggestive. It used to sell in the 70s.
Oh no, it's huge, and it's a funny act. I like Julian Clary.
That's when it started changing with Julian Clary.
Oh,
I mean, when Julian Clary did those comedy awards and he accused that politician of fisting in a park. You remember that?
Norman Lamont.
Yeah.
Norman Lamont.
Last time I saw Norman Lamont, he was getting fisted in a park. and Jonathan, it cut to Jonathan Ross and it was like...
that causes
I mean, he were on the front pages for days.
Well, I saw an interview with Julian Clary much later, and he said, didn't have an effect on you. He said, well, I was working very much until I was a bit overworked, and if you want to clear your schedule, you make that kind of comment. Because he was banned from the BBC, he was out of all his jobs.
Yeah, but you think that comment now would be a hilarious comment, but it would be a pat on the back, wouldn't it? It would have got a pat on the back.
It would be a throwaway line. I mean, and maybe it wouldn't even be correct because it's so lame now. It's not shocking anymore. And it's not that funny in particular.
But did anybody ask Norman Lamont's response?
But he was there, right?
He was there. He was sat in the audience. But no, did everybody question him?
Well, do you mind?
Well,
or is it true?
If it had been against me, I'd have just laughed it off. But back then, it were, what, 91, 92?
But the camera should have cut to Norman Lamont. What's he doing?
But it just...
Is he going, yeah?
Because even now, when Julian Clary says it, fisting is blurted out and it just goes to the audience's reaction. Even now, because on TV, I think they had a delay. So like, shit! And they hit the button, and then they let the hand off and it just goes to the audience's reaction.
I'm sure I've seen it in on the internet without
the...
I think so.
With the dubbed.
I'm pretty sure. That's why I know it was fisting.
But I only knew he said fisting when it were in paper. Because again, what's fisting? You put your fist up another man's arse. Is that what you do? That's what you're doing at fisting.
No, you touch each other's fists. Yeah, but so what if you fist a woman?
Why would you want to do that?
Well, why would you want to fist a man? Is it according to you? That's what gay men do. They just fist each other from morning to night.
You see, I had to stop myself from saying, "Isn't that what they do?"
Again, that's what I do.
God, I'm not to do. There's no wrong with fisting.
What to do?
If you've got, what would you say, the capacity to take it, there's no wrong with it, is there?
I wasn't the capacity.
The capacity.
The will, I think, is more important than the capacity.
Do you think my hands are smaller? My hands are smaller than yours. Do you think I could get? Would I have to put my thumb inside?
I think we're pretty similar, aren't we?
Could I get my fist up your ass? I put my thumb inside.
I don't want to boast, but I think I might be able to. I've seen some fantastic surprise in my toilet that might. Well, no, come on, you're really.
I've got my thumb in me inside my fingers.
Thanks.
And I've got quite dainty wrists.
If you cut those nails a bit shorter, I might give it a try.
Well, I'd have to because I wouldn't want to be cleaning them for a few days after. But would it?
No, I mean, in answer to your question, no, I don't think I've. Now,
could I put it up dry, or would you?
Spit on it.
A dry fist up there.
Spit on it a bit. No, but I mean, I remember in Holland we used to have this shock quiz thing where we'd shock each other with the most disgusting bit of porn that we could find, and one of them was this bloke being fisted with 3 fists at the same time.
Was it now?
One goes in, the second one goes in, the third one goes in, and I think it was German, but it's such a casual little bit of film, and it's sort of, wow, yeah, great, and next one. And the audience must be going, my God, what's going on here? Is there a cow being dragged out of this at the end? A calf?
The 3 fists?
Yeah.
Was it from 3 different people, or was it a 2 and a 1?
What?
Well, the 3...
That's what bothers you? That's what...
well, now get this, right? If you've got both fists in, that is the worst pair of handcuffs you're ever going to wear, isn't it? And can you imagine the police adopted a policy of handcuffs, arse handcuffs? You have to put your hands up somebody's arse to be secured. Right? What? Now, if you got stuck, if his arse spasms and you have to go to hospital like this.
The human centipede.
Yeah. Does the fella walk in first forwards, or do you walk in first backwards?
I think that's the last thing on your mind. It's more the excuse of, well, he fell from a great height and I tried to stop him.
I fell off the bike.
I tried to save him, but...
I would dive into the swimming pool.
This man landed on me. Naked.
But you would have been able to find all that stuff in Amsterdam easy enough in shops, wouldn't you?
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot of availability of sex shops in Amsterdam.
The pornography I found were always stuffed in a drain pipe and it were wet.
What? Is that a euphemism?
No, that's where you found your pornography when you were a kid.
People would. Shop is a drain pipe?
No, you would never buy porn. You could never go into a shop and buy porn.
What? Well, how'd you get your porn?
Because men would read it, knock one out, and they'd be so scared of the wives or the girlfriends finding it in their house that would go out for a walk at night and then shove the magazine in a drain pipe or something and walk off. So as a kid, you'd find the porn magazines that I always found were wet.
So drain pipes are sort of stuffed and blocked with
Just stuff with porn mags. Yeah, that's where you
plumbers must have had a field.
Or you'd find them on tip, because there were a quarry and a tip, and people would just throw over like pornography. It were wet, yeah, and you'd be like that, just opening pages really carefully so it didn't rip.
Are you sure that was rainwater?
Oh, definitely, because I was pissing it down, wasn't it? That's the first.
It wasn't sticky.
That's the first time I saw Madonna. We know on it. Were Madonna were in. We want to play, but it was something nasty.
Madonna, she only did topless stuff in that.
No, she had the lot out. She wasn't
the lot.
She wasn't opening the drapes or out, but the lot were out. Yeah.
The lot, as in her vagina.
Yeah.
That's what you call the lot.
Yeah.
The age of romance is not dead. Wow, Brad, what a place to grow up. I can't imagine these drain pipes being full and then men throwing magazines on tips.
But when you watch League of Gentlemen, I think the fella, I think he got interviewed on couldn't have been Desert Island Discs. He got interviewed and he said, "Oh yeah, the only pornography you ever saw in the north of England was always wet magazines that had been stuffed in a drain pipe." And I immediately went, "I know exactly what you're talking about.
Oh.
I know exactly what you're talking about, because that's where I used to find my pornography."
Oh, no wonder the Yorkshire Ripper.
I once found
repression, and
I found a mucky magazine on way to school, and I took it to school, and I was showing it. Look what I found, and my mate grabbed it off me, and it was middle school, and took it to the teacher. I said, "Darren's brought this to school." Got in shit for that. But I mean, the teacher must have been laughing, because he kept it. it wasn't wet, and it were dry, and it were in pristine condition.
Was it drying on a radiator?
But he kept it. Didn't give me it back.
Well, he might have collected it again. Maybe that was his in the beginning. Wow. Well, from fisting to magazines...
Boris.
Yeah.
And banging white supremacists.
We've covered quite a field, I'm sure you'll agree. Now, how to bake cupcakes.
Right, well, that's our hour.
Was it? Well,
yeah, that went quick, didn't it?
We've covered certainly from Prince Andrew to fisting. No connection, of course.
Again.
So, wait, I just want to add one more point. Our friend last week, when we said we're going to talk about Andrew, he said, "Oh, leave the bloke alone. She was 17. It wasn't like a kid or something." Do you remember that comment?
Yeah.
And I thought about that this week. I thought, well, yeah, 17. It's not a 5-year-old or a 10-year-old. There is a difference.
Yeah.
And I thought about it. It's an argument to be had. It's not. He is guilty of that, of course, but 17 is different from a child.
But she's been kidnapped. That's the thing. She's been kidnapped.
Yeah,
and she didn't want to fuck him, so she's been kidnapped and raped. It doesn't matter if she's 17 or 47, does it?
So should there be a different punishment if it's a 17-year-old or a 10-year-old?
Oh yeah, wildly different. But is the age of consent 18?
Yeah.
So she's a minor, isn't she?
Yeah, no, but so there is a different punishment than you think there should be.
Yeah, but she's still under 18, isn't
yeah,
she?
I know, but if she were 10 and she was 17...
Oh, yeah, I think so.
I never considered that point.
But still.
Yeah, no, but still, yeah. But there is a difference.
Yeah, there is a difference.
I wonder what he's doing.
Prince Andrew?
I saw a picture of his chalet in Switzerland. It's huge.
Well, he's not got that anymore. That'll pay for his legal bills. At least I'm not paying for it.
Well, I can't believe this is true, but it said that... This might not be true, but it said $32 million of that's impossible. Nothing. No chalet costs $32 million.
Yeah, but if it's the prince selling it, he's going to sell for more.
Yeah, $32 million.
It's like one of them houses with a blue plaque on in London. Jimi Hendrix lived here. That's going to sell for more. Fucking George Harrison's terraced house in Liverpool, right? On that little circle street where he lives, the houses there are selling for about 110,000. It's sold for 175, and it's not even got a blue plaque.
Well, I mean, that's a different thing. Houses are ridiculously priced now, especially in the UK.
Right, so we're going to wrap this up then.
Yeah, I hope you've enjoyed a little soiree about fisting.
Well, you you
it's all my
enlightened,
fault,
you
is it?
enlightened me more about that than I already knew. I could have done without that information. I'm not going to be able to sleep right.
Oh, so you
tonight.
knew about it then?
Now I do.
No,
I
then
do.
I already knew.
Now I do, yeah.
Well,
Alright.
I'm as usual surprised about the sexual repression in Northern England. You sound like a group of people who've just sort of escaped evolution and are living your own lives, and are not aware of all these things, and think homosexual people sort of from morning to night just sort of rummage around each other's pants from beginning to end.
Yep. None taken. We'll see you next week.
Bye bye.